We are going to be talking about the witch wound and the wise Wonder Woman today. I am Schamet Horsfield, Wounds to Wisdom, Oracle, and Transformational Coach. And we're going to get right into it, talking about the witch wound. Make sure you stay on because I'm going to be doing an oracle reading, talking about the witch wound. Are you ready to transform your wounds to your wisdom to your superpowers, so that you can truly transform your pain to your power and your power to passionate purpose? I am Schamet Horsfield, Wounds to Wisdom Oracle and Coach, and I will be your guide upon your journey of transforming wounds to wisdom, so you can truly manifest a life of your wildest dreams. If you have a fear of being seen, of being heard, of standing out, if you have intuitive abilities, psychic abilities, and you're afraid of them, then you are in the right place. We're talking about the witch wound and the wounds to wisdom, the witch wound to the wise Wonder Woman within us all. And so this is going to be fun. I'm so excited. Let me begin by just saying that I used to be a Christian. I went to church 4 times a week, devout Christian girl, actually, overachiever, goody two-shoe, singing in the choir, something higher, singing about God. And you know what? I'm still that really good Christian girl because I do believe in God, Goddess, Allah, Spirit, the universe, whatever name you want to give to the creator, creatrix of it all, which to me is love. Most important thing to me is love. And I am still recovering from my witch wound. It wasn't that long ago, really wasn't that long ago, that men and women were killed at the stake for being witches and were persecuted for being wise, for being strong, for being outspoken. And, you know, when I learned more and more about the witch wound and how on an energetic level, and by the way, they have done scientific research into the energetics of generational wounds, patterns, and, you know, people hanging on to an energetic fear and an energetic wound of being persecuted. They've lost track of how many people were actually killed. And they weren't just women. They were men as well. And the women in particular were the stroppy ones that left the marriage, right? They were the ones that stood up from themselves. They were the ones that spoke out. They were the change makers. They were the boisterous ones. And, you know, we're always led to believe that they were the crazy ones, but they were actually the wise ones, the strong ones. And so it is my belief that, you know, if you have a fear of being seen, of being heard, of standing out, if you have intuitive abilities, psychic abilities, and you're afraid of them, then you may have been burned at the stake in a past life, and you still feel the feelings of that persecution. And for most of us, though, it's a subconscious thing where there's this fear because it wasn't that long ago. And so it's a very real wound that, you know, I love speaking into, because it is my feeling and my belief that when we talk about it, when we voice it, then it gives less power to it. It's like, oh, okay, it's all out in the open. We got a witch wound. Let's just talk about it. The persecution wound of the witch wound has been a huge turning point in my healing journey. And to come into my power, my personal power, has been incredible. And now I just want to help others. So I'm going to share my story in hopes that it, gives you something inside, because I know whoever aligns themselves to my channel is being drawn in to receive the medicine that I have and I share. So I had a pretty rough start, ran away at 15, and claimed my sovereignty. Started to really break generational wounds and patterns, and became an overachiever through the whole cultivation of my empowerment. I was a good Christian girl, going to church 4 times a week. My family was not religious, but I found solace. I found a pathway to my inner light through the church, all up into the point that I had a premonition dream. I dreamt that my father died, which I listened to my intuition. I listened to the dream and I called him and had a beautiful, beautiful, loving conversation. And I'm so, so pleased that I listened to my intuition, because I hadn't been talking to him. I had given him an ultimatum. He was drinking and drugging, and I told him that I would have nothing to do with him until he got sober. Well, the dream really woke me up. I'm so glad I had that conversation with him and got to tell him that I loved him, because I never got to see him again after that. He died the next day. And the wounding, the witch wound for me in that moment, was that I called my aunt and told her that I had had the dream. And immediately she said, you must be a witch. And I believed her. I was a good Christian girl. I never had a premonition dream before. I didn't know what that was. All I knew is I had a dream that my father died and then he died. It must be my fault. This is the empath, right? The empath, they take everything in and on. And, this is why I'm so dedicated to helping empaths now, to, heal their wounds and their pain, because it took me years to unravel and heal my witch wound. And then I had another dream that I was handed this business card, and in the dream it was handed in slow motion, and in the dream I was told that I was meant to go and see this person. So a few days later, the actual business card that I had the dream about was handed to me, and the woman that handed it to me had like laser beam eyes. And I said, "Oh my God, I just had this dream." And she goes, "Well, if you dreamt about it, you need to go and see her right away." And so I did, and she became my clairvoyant teacher and my kind of new paradigm therapist, if you will. I'm psychic, so seeing a psychic for therapy is kind of my mojo. I need to be healing like past life stuff and this life stuff, and like deeper wounds and patterns that my clairvoyant was able to really guide me like a lighthouse to becoming who I am and why I do what I do. I love to help people, men and women, discover their psychic superpowers. I love to help people transform their wounds and cultivate them into their strengths. I have discovered this amazing oracle deck that I'm going to read from, called Witch. And I've been loving reading from these cards. I've been using them a lot with my soul clients. And her definition of witch is woman in total control of herself. Just feel that. Feel that in your body. Like, how does that feel? woman in total control of herself. Now, this pertains to men as well, so you can apply that. But, I came up with my own definition before I found this Oracle deck. That witch is wise woman for W. I, intuitive. W.I.T., teacher, intuition teacher, and transformation. W.I.T.C. What did I put for? I think I put compassion, compassionate coach, and clairvoyant. W.I.T.C. and H, healer, and hope. You could find your own definitions of which to help you start to alchemize and transform, the heaviness and the weight of the blame, the shame, and the persecution. Now, fast forward, I'm, let's see, 28 years old, I think. And a good friend of mine, she's a really great friend. She goes, "Oh, Schamet, you are such a witch." And I said, "I am not a witch. I am a goddess. And don't you dare call me a witch." And she was like, "Whoo, I meant it as a compliment. I meant that you're a wise woman." And I said, "Well, I don't take it as a compliment." And she goes, "Oh, well, I meant it as a compliment." And she says, "Because I'm a witch and I'm a wise woman." And, blah, 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 blah. And, this is long before this deck came out. This is, I'm 50 now. So it's quite a long time ago. And it took me a wee while to not be defensive and not push that away because of the brainwashing, in America, because I'm from California. In America, if you're a witch, you're a manipulator, you get warts on your nose. Like, it's the shadow side of the divine feminine. It's one thing to be called a goddess. And that's what I told her. I am not a witch. I am a goddess. I do not manipulate. I do not cast spells. And I am just not like that. And so there's this understanding that if you're a witch, you are the dark shadow side of the divine feminine. But, now with all the work I've done and being 50 years old and realizing that people in New Zealand and in Europe, they respect the word witch. They don't have this same kind of shadow aspect of what a witch is. And, and then I think about, the show that we grew up with in America, the sitcom Bewitched. Like, that was so beautiful. I love that show. And so when I go back and I reconnect to the lighter side of the meaning, and then I realize, well, actually, humans, all humans, can either be in the light side of being beautiful and giving and loving and kind, or more in the shadow aspects, whether you're witchy or not witchy. And so, I'm hoping with this episode that we can start to redefine what the word witch means. It's just a word. However, it is such a loaded word, and it's a negative, kind of pushing down of the strong women and men with wisdom. And so I love this definition, woman in total control of herself. So I'm going to actually read this card to you because I just think it's so beautiful. I love this deck. So here it is. Oh, isn't it beautiful? Love the artwork on these cards too. This is one of my favorite decks right now. I go in stages, but I'm just loving it. Okay. Control. No woman alive today needs a dictionary to know that control means within a toxic patriarchy. I'm going to read that one more time. No woman alive today needs a dictionary to know what control means within a toxic patriarchy. Sing it, sister. She's experienced it 1,000 different ways before she's hit puberty. It's alive in the curves of her psyche, in the expanse of her hips, in the marrow of her bones. It is domination and restraint. But in a balanced psyche, in a balanced culture, control can mean something else entirely. A witch, a woman in total control of herself, experiences control through cooperation rather than competition. She's engaged with the parts of her psyche in an attempt to coordinate rather than dominate. So let's just say that one more time. A woman in total control of herself experiences control through cooperation rather than competition. An attempt to coordinate rather than dominate. You are being asked right now to embrace all the inhabitants of your inner realm, because each deserves respect and a place at the table. Even the unruly, the inconvenient, the ugly, making space for all under the banner of wild inclusion and giving voice to the shame, malice, and anger, as well as every other outlawed part of the psyche, in the way we create integrity, ensuring that no part of our inner realm is involved with factions, divisions, or rebellions. When your intent is to create rather than compete, you don't have to dominate. Woo, woo, woo. Sing that one more time. When your intent is to create rather than compete, you don't have to dominate. Oh, just that one line right there starts to heal the witch wound. Your influence is enough. This is power with rather than power over. Invite whatever is bothering you today into the realm of inclusion and assert your authority. Ooh, I love this. Inviting all the parts of our psyche to the table. Whatever part of competition that you have with other women or other men, can we turn them into cooperation? Can we turn them into sisterhood? And, you know, I love this so much. I love this book so much. And, you know, just the power with instead of the power over, not needing to dominate, because we know that we're all creators, that we all have something to give, we all have something to share. And, you know, this is the way in to transform the witch wound into the wise Wonder Woman, which has been what I'm all about. Like, how can we embrace this word as an invitation to heal and transform the shadow side of the feminine psyche? Now, yes, a lot of it has been inflicted onto us, right? By outside sources, patriarchy and the energy of patriarchy itself. However, what this card and what I have experienced of really transforming my own personal wounds into wisdom and wisdom into my superpowers and transforming my witch wound into my wise Wonder Woman is going inside and doing that inner work. What part of me is still sitting in shadow? What part of me is running that old story of domination and patriarchy inside of me, right? And when we really can go deep in and have a conversation with those parts of who we are, It's a fast track to our healing. And so, yes, we are all, in my opinion, affected, whether energetically or quite literally, by this witch wound. I can't tell you how many times I have been attacked on social media or just in general in my life because I even call myself a priestess or a goddess or use the word goddess. You know, when I did the goddess summit, it's like I got attacked by people saying that, you know, I'm going to hell, that I'm this, you know, horrible witch. And I'm just speaking about love, truth, awakening, self empowerment, of knowing thyself by loving self and loving others and being kind. So, you know, I'm a belief coach. I'm a clear belief coach. I'm all about like transforming our beliefs. And really, the beliefs are the architect of our reality. So, what reality are we creating when we choose to believe that a witch is this bad, manipulative, shadowy kind of being? And then what happens when we start to change our belief? And I'm telling you, so much has opened up for me by healing my own witch wound. And, you know, I recently visited the States to visit my mom, and she had this picture in her book. And I was like all dressed up like a little witch when I was, I don't know how old I was, maybe 8 or something, maybe 7. I was little. And my mom had dressed me all up like a little witch and I had a little broom and everything. And it just took me back. And I thought, oh, wow, that was before I was conditioned to believe that the witch was bad. That was when I was so innocent and open and sweet. And I remember that Halloween. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm a little witch. And my mom, you know, darkened my front tooth and like me. Yeah, I know. It's a bit that whole witch conditioning of like witches have missing teeth and so on and so forth. But, you know, how can we transform that? You know, that, oh, well, to be a witch is missing tooth, big nose, warts, and the whole thing, right? And then I go deeper, like going back to my childhood and reconnecting to the innocence before the imprint of this wound really started to take effect. You know, the socialization, the media, like all that coming at us, right? And then forming this, I am not a witch. Don't call me that. I am a goddess. Thank you very much, right? And like unraveling all of that. What is your story? You know, what have you been programmed to believe about the word witch? And that is really where the healing starts. It really begins with the conversation of your story and how this has affected you. My friend in, you know, in New Zealand, like she didn't have any of that wounding. She was like, witches are really badass, powerful women. And if I'm going to call you a witch, you should be saying thank you right now, Schamet. And, you know, years later, I did say, oh, well, I finally get what you meant. And she goes, I was just giving you a compliment. I was like, yeah, I get it now. You know, like, thank you, actually. And she's like, finally. So, but, you know, I've been living out of the US now for, you know, 20 something years. And so the word has been redefined for me. I don't have this trigger anymore. It's very empowering and free to be able to transform that witch wound into my wise Wonder Woman and be unstoppable and be, you know, proud and happy if I'm called a witch because it's a wise woman. or a wise man. So if you feel you've got a witch wound, know that you can turn that witch wound into your beautiful wise woman. Wise woman. We are awakening. We are stepping into our power, transforming our pain into our power and our power into passionate purpose. I am Schamet Horsfield, and I am sending you so many blessings on your awakening journey.